Hello, this is Simple SolidWorks. Today we're going to go over the Surface tab. We're going to try to hit as many of these commands here that we can. Hopefully I can come up with all the way up to this area somewhere around here. So I'm going to start to get to work real quick, and hopefully we can get this thing through. So first of all, we're going to start with the extrude. Okay, so we're going to first select the front plane here so we can create a quick sketch. We're going to go ahead and start. Let's say one of these, this one right here. I kind of like doing that. I'm going to create a quick sketch. If this thing wants to activate eventually, there it is. I'm going to create something weird like so, and then we're just going to hopefully, when this thing stops thinking for a minute, we're going to have an extrusion. Again, these are the same type of commands as the feature commands. You know, these similar to the features where you have an extrude and you can actually go either mid-plane up to a surface, that kind of an effect. So you have up to vertex, surface, offset from a surface, up to a body, mid-plane, the same parameters that you have when you're doing a basic extrude. But this time it's going to be surfaces. So if you pick that, you move it out, you confirm, and you got yourself a surface. This is good for if you're making any type of irregular shapes. Smooth it out and kind of that kind of effect. You can also take this and sort of say, you know, I want to see how much material I need to have. So you can do that. You can thicken this as well. If you click on this, you can thicken it to a specific parameter. You say I want it to be that thick. So you can give it a nice thickness to it, right? It's not like just a regular surface. It's more like, okay, this is more like realistic. This is more like steel, let's say, for instance, right? You're going to take a piece of steel, you're going to bend it this way. That could be done. Read it, then you're like, well, where is it? So if you click on that, it's going to ask you to pick what you want to flatten. Then you say I want to flatten, and then you say, okay, but I want you to hold it from this point, like hold it from there and flatten everything else, and it'll give you a nice flat pattern. And this is good in case you don't know what the measurement of this is, but you want to know what you got to cut at a laser, right? I want a raw material of this distance, and you can always tell that person, okay, you can go out and cut something to this distance here, right? Cut that to that distance. Oops, so cut it to this distance. Give me that much, and then you can always tell them, okay, now after that, create a profile like this, right? So then you give them a drawing with the profile with all the radiuses. You can also give them something that like a thing that you can actually measure something to it, you know, and that'll like a little profile of it, so they can then compare the profile that you give them to something that they're going to stamp, they're going to cold form or roll form out until they get it right. So this is a very useful tool. Having the surface with this command here can help you sort of decipher how much material you need raw wise, and then you can always give them a profile cut of that and tell, okay, this is follow this template, and then follow the template and give me this curve, right? So that's always a useful thing. So now okay, so that's what that does. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one is the same as the feature Revolve base. See, everything is so much similar. The surfaces have the same concept. They follow almost the same concept. So here you're gonna do the same thing. You have to create. Let's say, let's go to the right side view here. You're gonna create something. You're gonna create a sketch. You're gonna create something weird like this. You don't need to do that, but you get the gist of it. If you just take let's delete this. I don't want those. I just want a line. Oops. Okay, get it. And then just give it a center line. Sort of there. Okay. So then you go back to it, and you go back to that command, and you say I want to revolve surface. It's going to create that. Do you want a 360? You say no, give it to me at 180, and it creates at that 180. Now you have the revolve surface. Again, you can always thicken this out if you wanted to sort of make it look realistic, right? This is what I need. And you can always flatten that out too. Again, by picking this and say okay, and then tying it to this line here, it's going to flatten it out like that. And you say okay, now I know what I gotta tell my guys to cut. You can say okay, I need you to go into the laser and cut me a piece of that is this much. You can say I want you to cut that much, and then give me this curvature, right? So it's always good to have that option to sort of revolve it and then thicken it and then flatten it, and then you have that. Okay, so the next one we have is the sweep surface. We're going to use the same profile that I created here, but now I'm going to create another sketch, and I'm going to tie it to this spot right there. That, if you hit the sweep command, it's going to first pick that sketch that, you tell it I want you to pick this sketch, then I want you to pick this profile, and it's going to follow that through. And you can always give it more preview. If you notice, it's going to zebra stripes here. Okay, that is for people who are really into like creating car designs and they want to know if the contour is correct or not. That is what that's for. But if you don't like it, you can turn that off. You can also have curvature combs, and that is sort of gives you a profile of the scale, the density. It sort of helps. You can manage how this thing is sort of working out. I don't like turning none of those things off because I'm not a big user of surfaces. I rarely get to use this command because in my industry that I've worked before, I've only done, most of it has been mechanical, but not saying that it's not worth it, to pick it up and learn it, because this is something that could be possibly useful, to sort of create a nice looking pipe. Okay, this is an exhaust pipe of some sort, right? Just imagine that, right? If you could, without having to go through the extrusion of it, you can always do that too. There's other ways to do things in Solidworks, right? That's what I'm trying to get to. When I teach these classes, there's many ways you can do this. It doesn't have to be just all extrusion all the time. You can do surfaces as well. The next one we're going to do is the loft surf. That one we can do with, let's say we have this plane here, and we're going to create a sketch on that plane. Right, let's start off with a circle, and then confirm that. And then on that same surface, the surface you created, you can create a geometry surface in another plane. So you can say I want to create a plane somewhere around there. That's fine. Again, this is all demonstration purposes. You can go back and create another sketch and say, I want it to be on that plane. I want this to be like so, right? now you have your two parts. You say, okay, now I am connecting A with B, right? So you're connecting A, right, with B. Oops, got that wrong. With B, right? Sorry. So there you have that. We're looking at, you have your, again, this is also the mesh density, right? You can increase how much of that mesh into that density to be. You can also add zebra stripes to that, you know, or curvature cones as well, right? But again, that is up to you and the user and what do you need to do with it, right? So once you confirm that, you get that nice looking surface like that. You can also thicken that up if you need to and create something weird like that, right? Pretty self-explanatory. These commands are not the most difficult ones to master in surfaces. I think the most difficult ones are the boundary face, right? What can you do with this? So this is the one that sort of has, you have to put a little more noodle behind it. So I'm gonna delete these sketches here so that we can you can see exactly the complexity of the part that you can create with that. So I am going to create, okay, let's start off with the bottom top plane there. I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to create something crazy with this slotted thing here. Oh. And I want to just create a sketch normal 2. That's weird. I don't like it when it's sort of, it's creating a shadow there and I don't even know where that's coming from. It's got to be something from the past. Then you can say, okay, I want to, let's put some dimensions, a little bit of dimensions on there, just for the sake of it. Let's take that and this coins to that, and then this, put that. Okay, so you have something weird like this. Then on this plane here, let's draw another feature on top of that plane here. I'm going to create like a circle. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to take it to this line here so that we can sort of keep it a little bit of structure to it. Then you want to create another view on, let's say another sketch, sorry, on this plane here. So you want to keep it on that plane. And you want to create another plane here. You want to create a sketch on that plane. And you go ahead and say, let's say an arc. Wow, this thing is really acting up today. Sometimes SolidWorks is very heavy on memory, and if you start doing a lot of funky stuff, it just doesn't like it. It's very memory hog. It likes to own the computer. So what you want to do is you want to hold the shift button and pick this circle, and then you want to tell it to pierce. So it's going to take it to that line, and then you take this guy and say the same thing. I want to take it to this circle, and I want it to pierce, right? So now you have that they're connecting from one side to the other. Then you can say, well, I kind of don't like the way that looks. It looks kind of weird that way. So you just bring it down a little bit just by dragging it. Say, you know, that looks pretty decent. I like the way that looks. And you say, okay, I'm going to give it that radius, sort of right there, 6.30, just to round it off. And you can take the other side and do the same thing. You're going to create another 3-point arc. You can put 3 spots right? And you can say from here to here, hold the shift button, hold it, and then when it comes, this comes out, you say pierce. Click on that, hold the shift button, hold that, and hit pierce, and it's going to pierce that. You can then manually drag it a little bit until you get what you're looking for, and then put a dimension on that. Let's say 4, just for the sake of it. Right, and you can confirm that. So now you have this looking part like that, and you want to say, we don't want to put a, I want to create another plane, and I'm just going to take it a little bit further out. Yeah, I like it right around there. That's fine. Let's say 3.60. That makes it. So now you have that plane, and you say, you know what, on plane 2 I'm going to create another sketch. So I'm going to create the 3-point arc on there, and you can pick 3 spots again. You pick this guy, hold the shift, hold that. It's going to make it pierce that. Take this guy, put it here, hold the shift, pierce that, and then you sort of say, you know, I want to drag that a little bit just to give it a nice contour. You don't want to get too crazy, and you give it a dimension. Let's say, you know what, let's make it 3. That's perfect. And then you can let's see if this will work. I'm trying to see if I can mirror this across, see if it works. So you have, let's say, mirror, and pick this entity here and confirm that, and it did. Okay, so now you have that mirror on the other side. So you have your part sort of weird like this. You created a sketch that looks weird like that, but now you want to use, go back to your surfaces, and you want to use the boundary surfaces, and you're going to first pick on this part, you're going to pick the bottom and the top. So on this box here, you're going to pick the bottom. It don't matter which order, but you got to pick the bottom or top, right? And then you pick the top. It's going to create this looking weird shape like this. It's almost like a surface loft, but on this point you come down here where it says direction 2, and you click on it, and it's going to tell you, do you want to take it to that spot? By you have to say OK by clicking on this green button right there. And now you see how that sort of pushed it out that way. You say, yeah, that's what I want. And then you say, okay, the next one I want to push it out to is this one. And you say confirm that, and it's going to push it out that way. See? Then the next one, you say, well, I want this one, and you're going to push it out that way as well. And then over here, you pick on this one, and you push it out towards that way. So what it's doing is actually grabbing that direction, or open loop as they call it, and sort of wrapping it around those arcs that you created. So it's creating an extrusion, let's imagine that, or loft, from point A to point B, and then it's going to, then you're using the next profiles to sort of smooth it out, right? So that's what if you want to increase the same thing, you want to increase the mesh density, you can do that. That'll create a more smooth out, right? You want to look at the zebra, see if you're like into that kind of stuff. You'd be like, hey, that looks pretty cool, you know. And then you confirm it. It's very easy. And then that creates sort of like a mouse, if you think a mouse sort of thing. And then you can always, again, you can always come back to these up here. You can always thicken this to give it some volume. And there it is. So yeah, so that's how that one works out, right? It's sort of self-explanatory in a way. It has a lot of it takes a while to figure that one out. You should have had to create a lot of sketches, you know, to create this look, right? You start off with this sketch, the top, the profile where you're going to bound it through, and then sort of create it, right? So, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that hard. The next one is going to be the fill surface right here. This is in case you got a hole and you want to fill it in. Similar to that, you pick this hole here. It says, yeah, do you want to fill that out? You say, yeah, I want to cover that up. Let's say, this is in case you need to do something like that, right? You can always use this as a surface to extrude something out, add something to it, that kind of a thing, right? So that fill surface is just, if you have a hole and you want to fill it in, it does it for you, right? So that pretty much puts that in perspective of how that works. So let's do the last one for today. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is going to be the freeform. So we did the fill surface, and now we're going to do the freeform. Freeform, you're going to start off with a planar surface. So you want to start off with a sketch. Pick this plane here is fine, and you start to create your plane. Your planar surface, you can put a dimension on it. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be for demonstration purposes here. So let's just put something in there, just to sake of engineering world, right? So we're gonna. I like to always go through the process of doing the whole thing, because you never know. You want to get into good habits of tying everything together and making sure that everything is correct. So let's say 8 there, and then we're just gonna put it there. Yeah, that's fine. So you have that. You go to surface. You go to planar surface, because it has to be a planar surface. It can't be something weird. It's got to be something flat. So because you're going to create a freeform off of that. So once you have that, then you click on your freeform button here, and it's going to ask you which face do you want to freeform. So let's pick this face here. Now you see how this created this tabulated look here? That's because down here is where you sort of have that mesh density right there. So it's telling you mesh preview, mesh density. You can increase that if you want. Let's put it to 13, and then you want to sort of lay the direction where you want to go. So I want it to be symmetry across this side. So you can directional symmetry there, or you can go it here too. You can have it go both ways, but I like to just do it one way. It'll matter. And then you pick your control type. I like to go through a control polygon because it makes it easier to work with, in my view. And you want to add a curve. So these curves are just where you're going to be rising or going through. So if let's pick this point right here, and you notice it's going to create these little green lines there. So if you put another one here, since you pick symmetries, put it on this side as well. See how the green lines are on this side and also on this side? Then you want to add points. So the points is like where you want to sort of push and pull from. Just imagine that. And let's put some here. That's fine. Just where it's at right there. So if you click on that green button, you're going to get this pull and push thing here. So if you've raised this, I want you to take notice how it's on the other side is rising as well, right? And if you pick this guy and you grab it by the X and you pull it, you see how it sort of goes that way as well. And if you pull this up, it goes up. This is very, if you want to do a very organic style looking object, and you just really want to get it to work, and you have a profile pre-selected or created in 2D, and you sort of want to create it to follow that look, right? So you have it the way you want it. Of course, you can go really crazy with this. The limitations are up to your imagination, really, right? What do you want to do with this profile look, right? Well, once you have it the way you want it, you can say, you know what, that's what I need. You confirm it, and now you have your weird looking shape like that. You see, you can also thicken this as well. I always like to make things thick, so let's do that. Where is that? Gets lost in all these icons. Thicken here. Click on that. You hit the free form. Click it. Confirm it. And now you have it thick, right? So if you do a section cut of that and you push it towards where you got your rise and fall, you can see pretty much what you did there. So freeforming is to create some sort of contour of a sheet metal part that's sort of being used as a, it's going to get metal stamped in a way. So this is good to create some sort of metal stamping, like a World War II helmet. You know, they used to take these discs and they put them in this mold, and then the guy would go and punch it and all, and the helmet will come out. Well, this is similar to that. You can create something organic like that. Take this and use this as your profile to subtract it from the mold design and sort of say, okay, this is where you're going to be stamping. So this is good for that. This is a very easy command to work with, as long as you know the rules, right? You got to know which button you want to press and what things you need to do. The planar surface, we already did that one. Offset the surface, you can always pick this and say, yeah, I want you to offset that like that, and it'll create, oops, I think it's because it's sort of too much. It's too much of a surface. Yeah, that's what I thought. So if it's too big, it'll fold within itself, and it sort of creates this error. If you notice that, right? So this will create like two forms on it, like one on top of the other, like so. So then you have your positive and negative, right? The positive is bottom and negative is top, and you can also thicken this up, you know, to create. Why do I get lost with this command all the time? You can always thicken something up and sort of create, like, okay, now I have a, where the metal is going to go in between this, it's going to be flat, and it's going to come down, it's going to come down and fall into this mold. This mold is going to create this design, weird looking shape, right? The rule surfaces is for if you want to extend something outward a little bit. So you can say rule surfaces, you pick this edge here, and it'll extend it out. You can say, you know, I want you to extend that out a little bit more, and it creates another addition, let's say, to that part. So that's useful if you needed to extend it a little bit more and you don't want to muck around. So I'm not going to go into the fillet because we did that already. Surface flatten, this is a particular command that doesn't quite like this, to surface flatten this, because it's sort of free form, so it's kind of like hard to calculate. So it'll be like, it's going to yell at you all kinds of ways. So that's good for things that you create from here all the way to here, right? And then the rest of it, if you're free forming and creating something odd, it's not going to do that flattening of the surface. The rest of it is sort of like if you import a part, and that part is, you want it to import it as a surface, then all of these parameters are to create and to fix whatever error, whatever part comes in that is missing a face or needs to have a faithful place. You want to delete the whole, that kind of this is more for modifying a part that you imported in, and you want to turn it into a surface. So that's what these commands are here for. You can play around with these as well. So I hope that you was able to get something from this. I'm not a surface expert, but I do know enough to get myself by. If you want to look at other YouTubers that actually do nothing but surfaces, there's plenty of them out there. I recommend you go and watch those to get a better understanding of these. This is a quick review of how this works. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you subscribe and hit the like button, or just give me some comments and say, hey, this is what you can do for here, this is what this is at. You know, I'm always learning and also teaching, so I hope to hear from you guys soon and see you in the next video. Thank you.